The conference room fell silent as Olivia Bennett stood at the head of the table, mascara track staining her usually flawless face. 5 years, she whispered, gripping the edge of the polished mahogany. 5 years of building this company from nothing, and they're going to take it all away because I'm single. Her gaze swept across her stunned employees, finally landing on Ethan Parker, who sat quietly in the corner, a man who understood loss better than most. Neither of them knew that this desperate moment would change their lives forever, and perhaps yours too, if you stay with us until the end of this incredible journey. If this story of unexpected connection and second chances resonates with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more heartfelt stories that remind us of humanity's capacity for love and resilience. 12 hours earlier, Olivia had been the picture of professional perfection, her designer suit and confident stride betraying nothing of the storm brewing inside her. As CEO of Bennett Innovations, she had transformed a struggling tech startup into a multi-million-dollar company, earning respect and admiration in an industry dominated by men. But that morning, everything had changed with one phone call from her grandmother's attorney. "I'm sorry, Ms. Bennett, but the trust is explicit. Your grandmother's inheritance, including her controlling shares in your company, will revert to your cousin Maxwell unless you are married by your 35th birthday, which is tomorrow at midnight." Olivia had laughed at first, certain this was some elaborate joke. Her grandmother Eloise, eccentric as she had been, couldn't possibly have left such an archaic stipulation. But as the attorney continued explaining, reality sank in like a stone. The woman who had raised her, who had been her greatest champion, had left behind this impossible condition. "Your grandmother believed family was everything, Ms. Bennett. She worried your dedication to the company had come at the expense of personal connections. This was her way of ensuring you wouldn't end up alone." Alone. The word echoed in Olivia's mind as she paced her corner office that afternoon. She had never felt her singlehood was a problem until now. She had been too busy building her legacy, proving herself in a world that constantly underestimated her. And now, less than 36 hours before her 35th birthday, she faced losing everything to her cousin Maxwell, a man who had made no secret of his plans to dismantle the company and sell its assets to the highest bidder. 4 floors below, Ethan Parker was reviewing code for the company's newest security software. At 37, he was Bennett Innovations' most reliable programmer, and its most private. His colleagues knew little about him beyond his exceptional work and the fact that he was raising his 8-year-old daughter Lily alone. What they didn't know was how he stayed up late helping with science projects, how he learned to braid hair from YouTube tutorials, or how he still slept with his bedroom door open to hear if Lily had nightmares. The emergency all-staff meeting had been unexpected, and as Ethan settled into his usual corner seat, he noticed immediately that something was wrong with their normally unflappable CEO. When Olivia finally explained her predicament, the room erupted in a cacophony of suggestions, each more outlandish than the last. "Just do a quickie Vegas wedding with someone," called out Ryan from marketing. "What about that dating app for millionaires?" suggested Priya from accounting. "My cousin's available, he's only been divorced twice," offered Jerome from legal. Amid the chaos, Ethan remained silent, watching Olivia's composure crumble beneath the weight of well-meaning but increasingly absurd proposals. He recognized something in her eyes that he knew all too well, the desperate determination of someone about to lose everything they'd built. "I need a husband by midnight tomorrow," Olivia finally announced, cutting through the noise. "Someone trustworthy, someone discreet, someone who understands this is strictly business." She straightened her shoulders. "I'm prepared to make it worth their while." As the meeting dispersed, Ethan lingered, watching Olivia collect herself before retreating to her office. He thought of Lily, of the private school tuition he struggled to afford, of the medical bills still piling up from his late wife's illness. He thought of his daughter's future, and of the respect he'd always had for the woman who had built this company, a company that had hired him when no one else would take a chance on a newly widowed father who needed flexible hours. 3 hours later, after arranging for his neighbor to watch Lily, Ethan knocked on Olivia's office door. The sky outside her floor-to-ceiling windows had darkened to indigo, matching her mood. Mr. Parker, she said, exhaustion evident in her voice. It's late. Shouldn't you be home with your daughter? She's with Mrs. Abernathy next door, he said, remaining by the doorway. I wanted to talk to you about your situation. Olivia sighed, gesturing to a chair across from her desk. If you have another ridiculous suggestion involving internet grooms or distant relatives, I've heard enough today. I'm offering myself, Ethan said quietly. Olivia's pen clattered to the desk. Excuse me? I'll marry you, he clarified, his voice steady despite the racing of his heart. Tomorrow. For as long as you need to secure your inheritance. Olivia studied him, searching for the joke, the angle, the hidden motivation. Why would you do that? Because you gave me a job when I was at my lowest, he answered honestly. You created flexible hours for parents. You built something worth saving. He paused. And because the arrangement could help Lily and me too. How so? The school district rezoning means Lily would have to change schools next fall. Your address is in the Westridge district. We could live with you temporarily, maintain the appearance of a real marriage, and Lily could stay at her school. Move in tonight, Olivia found herself saying, the words tumbling out before she could reconsider. If we're doing this, it has to look convincing. My cousin Maxwell will be watching for any signs this is fraudulent. And so began the most unusual arrangement of their lives. That night, Ethan and Lily arrived at Olivia's penthouse apartment with 2 suitcases and a backpack full of stuffed animals. Lily, still half asleep and clutching her favorite rabbit, looked around the minimalist space with wide eyes. Your house doesn't have any colors, she observed, her small voice echoing in the sparsely decorated living room. Olivia, who had never considered her sophisticated gray and white palette lacking before, suddenly saw her home through the eyes of a child. Perhaps you could help me add some, she offered awkwardly. That first night set the tone for the weeks that followed. The hastily arranged courthouse wedding the next day was attended only by Lily, Mrs. Abernathy, and Olivia's assistant Jennifer, who served as witnesses. Maxwell had appeared, uninvited, his skeptical gaze following the couple as they exchanged perfunctory vows. The inheritance was secured, for now, but his parting words hung in the air, I'll be watching you, cousin. Marriage fraud is still fraud. Life as an instant family proved more challenging than any of them had anticipated. Ethan and Olivia established careful boundaries. He and Lily would take the guest rooms, they would maintain their professional relationship at work, they would present as a couple only when necessary to convince others. They created a detailed backstory. They had been secretly dating for months, keeping their relationship private due to their professional connection. The whirlwind wedding was explained as, when you know, you know. But reality had a way of dismantling their carefully constructed walls. Olivia, who had lived alone for 15 years, found her precisely ordered world disrupted by Lily's colorful drawings on the refrigerator, Ethan's coffee mug perpetually left on the counter, and the sound of life in rooms that had previously known only silence. She discovered Lily was allergic to strawberries, that Ethan hummed while he cooked, and that her expensive throw pillows made excellent fort materials. For Ethan, the challenges were different. He watched Olivia's dedication to her work with a mixture of admiration and concern, recognizing the signs of someone using career as a shield against deeper connections. He noticed how she flinched slightly when Lily approached her for help with homework, how she checked her watch during dinner conversations, how her smile never quite reached her eyes during the family photos they staged for social media to convince Maxwell of their legitimacy. The arrangement might have continued in this careful dance of proximity without intimacy if not for the night of the thunderstorm. 3 weeks into their marriage, a particularly violent summer storm knocked out power across the city. Lily, terrified of thunder since her mother's death during a stormy night, was inconsolable. Ethan found Olivia in the kitchen, using her phone's flashlight to search through drawers. "What are you looking for?" he asked, raising his voice over Lily's sobs from the other room. "Candles, batteries, anything useful," Olivia replied, frustration evident. Another crash of thunder sent Lily into a fresh wave of tears. "Can't you make her stop? I have an investor call at 6 tomorrow morning." Something in Ethan snapped. "She's a child, Olivia. She's scared. This isn't about your schedule." "I never signed up for this," Olivia hissed, immediately regretting her words as hurt flashed across Ethan's face. "You signed up for a marriage of convenience," he responded quietly. "But there's nothing convenient about family. Not real family." He turned to leave, but Olivia caught his arm. "I'm sorry," she whispered, the darkness somehow making it easier to show vulnerability. "I don't know how to do this. Any of this." "Do what?" "Care for someone. Be there when they're afraid." The admission cost her, he could tell. "My grandmother raised me, but she was distant. Practical. She taught me how to succeed, not how to connect." Ethan's expression softened. "Come with me." In Lily's room, they found her huddled under her blankets, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Ethan sat on one side of the bed, gesturing for Olivia to take the other. "We're going to tell storm stories," he explained to both of them. "Not scary ones, magical ones." What followed was a night Olivia would never forget. By the light of her phone's flashlight, Ethan weaved tales of thunder giants playing bowling in the clouds, of lightning fairies painting the sky with light, of rain sprites dancing on rooftops. Gradually, Lily's tears subsided, replaced by questions and eventually her own creative additions to the stories. Somewhere during the third story, her small hand crept into Olivia's, holding tight as thunder rumbled overhead. "Your turn," Ethan said to Olivia when he finished his story. "I don't know any stories," she admitted. "Then make one up," Lily encouraged, her earlier fear forgotten. "Daddy says the best stories come from inside you." Hesitantly at first, then with growing confidence, Olivia began to speak. She told of a queen who built a kingdom of glass, beautiful but fragile, who was so afraid of cracks appearing that she never let anyone close, until one day, a small child with a paintbrush showed her that cracks could be filled with color, becoming the most beautiful parts of her creation. When Lily finally drifted to sleep, her hand still clutching Olivia's, the adults carefully extracted themselves and stood in the hallway in comfortable silence. "Thank you," Ethan said simply. "For what?" "For letting her see the person behind the CEO. The real Olivia." The storm marked a turning point. Slowly, the lines between their arranged situation and genuine connection began to blur. Olivia started coming home earlier, helping Lily with her science project on growing crystals, her analytical mind perfectly suited to the task. Ethan noticed how she no longer checked her emails during dinner, how she'd begun keeping Lily's favorite cereal stocked in the pantry, how she'd replaced her stark white bedding with a deep blue comforter that Lily had said matched the night sky. At work, they maintained their professional relationship, but employees noticed subtle changes. Olivia laughed more. Ethan spoke up more in meetings, his innovative ideas strengthened by her strategic thinking. They became a formidable team, driving the company toward new successes. 4 months into their arrangement, Maxwell made his move. At a board meeting, he presented evidence that their marriage was a sham, photographs of Ethan and Olivia entering separate bedrooms, documentation showing they had no joint financial accounts beyond the basics, testimonials from employees who claimed never to have suspected a relationship before the sudden wedding. "The terms of Eloise Bennett's trust are clear," Maxwell argued, his expression triumphant. "A real marriage, not a business arrangement disguised as one. I move that the board recognize this fraud and transfer controlling shares to me, as stipulated." Olivia felt the floor dropping beneath her. Everything she'd built, everything she'd fought for, was slipping away. But before she could speak, Ethan stood. "With respect, Mr. Bennett," he addressed Maxwell directly, "you fundamentally misunderstand what constitutes a real marriage." He walked to the front of the room, his quiet confidence commanding attention. "A real marriage isn't defined by which bedrooms people sleep in, or how they organize their finances. It's built in moments most people never see. Ethan turned to Olivia, speaking now to her rather than the board. It's in knowing you take your coffee with 1 sugar but 2 when you're stressed. It's understanding that you tap your left foot when you're thinking and your right when you're anxious. It's seeing how you slip your shoes off under the table during long meetings and line them up precisely when you think no one is watching. His voice grew softer, more intimate, though everyone in the room could still hear. It's watching you help Lily with her homework even when you've had the longest day, never making her feel like she's a burden. It's the way you've learned all her stuffed animals' names and give them different voices when you think I can't hear you playing with her. Olivia's eyes glistened with unshed tears as Ethan continued, we may have had unconventional beginnings, but don't presume to tell us our marriage isn't real. Some people spend decades together and never achieve the understanding, respect, and care that Olivia has shown my daughter and me in these few months. The boardroom remained silent when he finished. Maxwell's smug expression had faltered, replaced by uncertainty. Finally, Jennifer, Olivia's assistant who had been taking minutes, cleared her throat. As someone who has worked closely with Ms. Bennett for 6 years, she said, I can confirm that everything about her has changed since this marriage. And as the person who schedules her calendar, I know for a fact that she now leaves work by 5:30 3 days a week for family dinner, something that never happened before. One by one, other employees spoke up, sharing observations of small changes, meaningful interactions, the unmistakable signs of people who had become a family. By the time the testimonials finished, Maxwell's case had crumbled. The board voted unanimously to dismiss his claim. That evening, Olivia found Ethan on the balcony of their apartment after Lily had gone to bed. The city lights stretched before them, a carpet of stars mirroring the night sky above. Did you mean what you said today? She asked, joining him at the railing. Every word, he replied, not looking at her. Why didn't you tell me you felt that way? Ethan finally turned to her. Because our arrangement has an expiration date. In 8 months, Lily will be settled in her school, and you'll have satisfied the terms of the trust beyond any legal challenge. We agreed from the beginning this was temporary. What if I don't want temporary anymore? Olivia whispered, the admission costing her every ounce of the courage she'd used to build her company. Before he could respond, her phone rang, the specialized tone she'd set for company emergencies. Their moment shattered, Olivia answered the call, learning that a security breach had compromised their newest product line. She needed to go in, tonight, to manage the crisis. Go, Ethan said, understanding in his eyes. We'll talk tomorrow. But tomorrow stretched into the next day, and the next, as the security crisis expanded. Olivia fell back into old patterns, working 18-hour days, sleeping at the office, missing family dinners. When she finally returned home after 5 days, exhausted but victorious, she found the apartment empty except for a note on the counter. Lily and I are staying at my old place for a few days. She needs stability right now, and I need clarity. This limbo we're in isn't fair to any of us. Take some time to decide what you really want, Olivia. Ethan. The empty apartment echoed with absence, Lily's backpack no longer by the door, Ethan's coffee mug missing from the counter, the refrigerator bare of colorful drawings. For the first time in her life, Olivia Bennett, CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, felt truly poor. 3 days passed. Olivia moved through her work mechanically, her mind elsewhere. On the 4th day, she found herself outside Lily's school at pickup time, uncertain of her reception but unable to stay away any longer. When Lily spotted her, the girl's face lit up with a smile that made Olivia's heart clench. Olivia. Lily ran to her, wrapping small arms around her waist. I lost a tooth. And Daddy says we can't feed the class hamster because he'll explode, but I think that's just because he doesn't want one at home. And I miss your pancakes because Daddy always burns them. The simple, uncomplicated affection broke something open in Olivia. This child, who had no stake in her company, no interest in her success, no awareness of her wealth, had missed her. Not for what she could provide, but simply for who she was. "I missed you too," Olivia said, surprising herself with the thickness in her voice. "Both of you. Then why did you stop coming home?" Lily asked, with the direct simplicity only children can manage. "Because I was afraid," Olivia admitted. "Of monsters?" Lily looked puzzled. "Of something scarier than monsters. Of loving people who might leave." Lily considered this with grave seriousness. "Daddy says being scared is okay as long as you don't let it stop you from doing important things." "Your daddy is very wise," Olivia smiled. "Is he picking you up today?" Lily nodded. "He's always late on Thursdays because of his meeting." As if summoned by their conversation, Ethan appeared, stopping short when he saw Olivia. His expression was guarded, but his eyes couldn't hide his relief at seeing her. "Daddy. Olivia says she was scared of loving us because we might leave, but I told her what you said about being scared and important things." Ethan's face softened. "Did you now?" "I came to talk," Olivia said. "Really talk, this time." That evening, after Lily went to bed, they sat at Ethan's kitchen table, so different from her sleek dining room, this small wooden table marked with years of life, homework assignments, art projects, and family meals. "I've spent my entire adult life building something I thought would make me feel secure," Olivia began. "But these past few months with you and Lily have shown me that what I built was just walls. Safety without connection." She reached across the table, taking his hand. "You asked me to decide what I really want. It's this. Not the arrangement, not the convenience. I want the messy, complicated, beautiful reality of us. I want to be there when Lily loses her next tooth. I want to hear you humming while you cook. I want to come home to people who miss me when I'm gone." Ethan studied her face, searching for certainty. "A family isn't something you can schedule or control, Olivia. It requires showing up, every day, even when it's inconvenient. Especially then." "I know," she nodded. "And I can't promise I'll get it right all the time. But I can promise I'll try, every day, to be worthy of being part of yours." "And the company?" "The inheritance is secure now, you don't need this marriage anymore." "The company is what I do," Olivia said simply. "You and Lily are becoming who I am. There's no competition." 1 year later, Olivia stood in that same conference room where our story began, but everything had changed. The company had not only survived the security breach but emerged stronger, with new protocols Ethan had helped develop. Maxwell had eventually sold his minority shares, unable to defeat their united front. And the woman who had once defined herself solely by professional success now measured her achievements differently. As the executive meeting concluded, Jennifer handed Olivia a reminder: school play at 3 o'clock. "You asked me to clear your calendar and remind you twice." Olivia smiled. "Thank you. And the other thing?" Jennifer nodded. "The adoption papers were delivered to your lawyer this morning. They'll be ready for both your signatures next week." In the hallway, Ethan waited, having just come from his own department meeting. "Ready for Lily's big debut as Planetary Defender number 3? "Wouldn't miss it for the world," Olivia replied, taking his hand as they walked toward the elevator. "But first, I have something for you." She handed him a small wrapped package. Inside was a key, not a shiny new one, but the worn key to her penthouse apartment, now their home, attached to a handmade keychain clearly crafted by Lily, with "Our Family" written in glitter glue. "What's this for?" Ethan asked. "I already have a key. This is the original," Olivia explained. "The one I never gave anyone else, not even my grandmother. I wanted you to have it because tonight marks 1 year since you first moved in, when my house finally became a home." As they stepped into the elevator, Olivia looked at their reflection in the polished doors, the CEO and the programmer, the unlikely pair whose emergency arrangement had grown into the most genuine connection either had ever known. The woman who had once desperately declared, "I need a husband" by midnight, had found something far more valuable than an inheritance. She had found family. If this story touched your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Because sometimes the most beautiful journeys begin with unexpected detours, and the families we choose become our greatest legacy. Remember, the connections we forge with others are the true measure of our success, more valuable than any company, more enduring than any achievement. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and we look forward to sharing more stories that remind us of our shared humanity.